Well, it's good to see everybody. I'm glad you stayed for class. Come on in, we'll have a seat. Okay, welcome again to class. It's good to see everybody. Thank you again for staying. I'm going to start with a devotional and get us into God's Word before we get into man's schedule. So let's start with prayer. Father, we thank you for your grace. What a great message this morning. A great worship, just a great time connecting with you. Thank you for that, Lord. I look forward to that continuing over the next hour, next couple hours for those staying for second service. And Lord, we just pray your grace abound more and more over these next couple hours with us as we seek a closer relationship with you. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. We've had a great weekend so far. Elders and evangelists, our wives. And, sometimes I feel bad because we have these retreats and they're so rich, and I just wish I could share it with everybody, but hopefully out of the overflow of what we get to bless everybody with that. But one of the things that has come up over this weekend is just a lot of reflection time. And as Wade's going to share, we were appointed elders 2.5 years ago in February 23. And I knew a lot about walking with the Lord, but I have learned a lot of that has gone from head knowledge to heart knowledge over the last couple of years. And talk about learning what it means to wash people's feet. Talk about learning what it means to go where Jesus calls us to go. I've done that over my walk with Christ, but I've done that over the last couple of years as well. And so what I wanted to share with you over the next just few minutes, short devotional here, is what I've learned, a couple things I've learned walking with the Lord over the last couple of years. One of my life verses is Proverbs 9:8-9. Do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. I want to always be found wise in the Lord's sight. And so I always want to be learning from what life brings at me and where the Lord leads me. And so some of the things that I feel that the Lord has taught me. We love deeply when we serve. And if you were at first service, this is going to sound like a repeat of the sermon, or you'll get it again, but it's just God's timeless truths. We don't have to coordinate to get timeless truths from God's Word. We love deeply when we serve. In Matthew chapter 20, I'll be reading a couple scriptures if you want to turn with me. Matthew chapter 20 and 25 through 28, the apostles are fighting over who's the greatest. Matthew 20, 25 through 28. This is what Jesus says to him. You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant. Whoever would be first among you must be your slave, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Jesus served people, and he said, if we're going to be great in the kingdom, we're going to be the least of all. We're going to be the servants and the slaves of everyone. What a humbling thought. When Jesus, in his Last Supper in John 13, last time with his apostles, kind of his last will and testament, if you will. He wanted to give them the very best that he could offer him in his last few hours. And what did he do? He took the basin of water, he got down on his knees, and he served them in love. And listen to what it says in verse 1. He knew he was to depart the world and go to his Father, having loved his own who were in the world. He loved them to the end. Jesus expressed his great love through service. And therefore he says in verse 16, "Truly I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the ones who sent them. If you want to follow me, you will do as I've done. You will wash people's feet." We love deeply also when we are humble. We're going to read in the sermon, we're going to listen to 1 Peter 1, or 1 Peter 5, 1 through 5. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Shepherds have to be humble. If we aren't, we are opposing God, and everything we try to do, we find resistance. And so the faster we can become humble, the faster we'll let God work. And then, of course, in 1 Corinthians 13, 4 and 5, listen to the nature of love. The very nature of love is humility. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 and 5. Love is patient, love is kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant. It is not rude. It does not insist on its own way. It's not irritable or resentful. Pride goes against the very nature of love. And so when we love deeply, we are humble. And finally, loving deeply takes us down roads that we wouldn't choose on our own. Now, every shepherd has to say yes to being asked. But that doesn't mean we know all the twists and turns of the roads ahead. It's very much like any walk of faith that we take. It's very much like our baptism into Christ. Jesus said to Nicodemus, "You cannot see the kingdom of heaven unless you're born again." Our baptism is like walking through a veil. We don't know what's on the other side. We just have glimpses by faith. Same with serving as in any sort of leadership in the church. We don't know what the next step is. It's often dark, but the Lord lights the next step. And listen to what Jesus said about John in John 21, verse 18. And this is often I feel this as a shepherd. 21, verse 18 in John. When Peter asks, "Hey, what about this guy?" No, I'm sorry. When Jesus is reinstating Peter, and he's telling him, "Love deeply, love my sheep." In verse 18, "Truly I say to you, when you were young, you used to dress yourself and walk wherever you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go." This is service. When we love deeply, we go oftentimes where we do not want to go. But we know it's the right way. It's because it's where the Lord leads us. And we, as a shepherding group, we've gone ways in areas that we did not intend. We lost Scott Lucas, and Steve Parrish is in Wyoming. The Shanks, part of our leadership team, they're in Arkansas. Life transitions keep taking place for all of us, but God continues to shape our leadership through this transition. And as I hand it over to Wade, let's be thinking about how God continues to shape us as a church, how God leads all of us oftentimes where we don't intend or don't want to go. It's not our vision, but if it's God's vision, if we're humble, if we're loving deeply, if we're following Him, if we're serving, then we know it's the right direction. And so let's be excited about where God's leading our church in the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years. Let's be thinking about that and be excited. Let's follow God wherever He leads us. Wade?
Thank you, Jim. Good loud one. Good morning, all. Next slide. Oh, sorry, I'm going to drive in. I promise you I drive. So we're going to give you a kind of a sandwich today. We're going to talk 3 topics. The first and the last are, I won't say more minor, but the real meat is the shepherd and the Deacon Selection Process. But first, we're going to do a really quick just reminder about life groups, and then we're going to end with an update on the land sale as well as the building project that's just now getting launched. So you saw this slide to begin with. Again, the sign-up sheets are back here in the fellowship hall. I think there's some leftover donuts from yesterday's Shepherd's group if it enticed you to get in there. But you can look online. There's good descriptions of those classes there, or life groups there. There's descriptions back here. But the sign-up sheets themselves are back in the fellowship hall. Or you can sign up online. There's also a QR code. It didn't make it on this slide, but I'm getting all over the map here. The first slide had a QR code, and it's also in the bulletin that'll take you right to the website if you want to sign up on the website. So a reminder on the timeline. Okay, so the sign-ups are going to run the next 3 weeks, and so if you're still undecided, don't feel pressured that you got to sign up with somebody today. Take some time, look at the topics, talk to some leaders. Some have maybe got an idea of when they want to meet or frequency. Some don't yet. They're going to wait on see who the group members are. But you've got some time, but go ahead and get signed up. There's going to be 2 life group leader training sessions, 17 and 24 August. You don't have to go to both if you're a life group leader. Just pick one or the other. Those are on Sundays. And we'll do some orientation, especially for those who may not have led a life group before. The groups are going to be finalized on the 7th of September. So really kind of between the 24th of August and the 7th, that's going to be a time of taking a look at who signed up for what. Some groups may be really big that we may have to split up. Some groups may not have hardly any signups or any signups, and we'll have to readjust those. And so there'll be some time for kind of sifting, getting those groups finalized, and then they're going to launch on the 21st of September, or thereabouts. Okay, remember that there's not a certain day or date that you have to meet. And so some groups are going to meet every 2 weeks. Some groups may meet every 3 weeks or even less frequently. So around the 21st, it's going to be kind of our launch date, and then it's going to go through 3 May. That's roughly, if you meet every 2 weeks, that's about 15 sessions. So if you think about the time commitment to building relationships, which is really what this is focused on, it's not as onerous as some people have maybe thought it would be in the past. So boy, we sure encourage you to sign up for a group. If you're on the fence, do I participate or not? Plug into a group. We really urge you guys to do that. There are so many benefits to meeting in smaller groups, getting to know folks better, building those relationships, and digging in on a topic that you're interested in. And so please be in prayer about those. All right, secondly, has been mentioned several times this morning, we are going to be selecting not only shepherds, additional shepherds, but also deacons. This is a biblical model. When we have a growing, healthy leadership team, that reflects a growing, healthy church, and which we are. We are continuing to grow. Matt mentioned yesterday, we keep bumping against and exceeding the 200-member threshold. It's just awesome to see. Even during these summer months where attendance usually goes down, we have had more people come in first and second service. It's been phenomenal. We also think there's plenty of men out there that have not been tapped yet that are capable to serve, that are willing to serve. And then February of 23 is the last time we appointed shepherds. I couldn't believe that when I thought about it. It seems like about 6 months ago. In some ways it seems like I've been doing this for 85 years. But it's been 2.5 years, if you can believe it. Time is just flying. And then deacons just a little bit over 2 years ago. And so we think it's time. We really do think it's time. So I'm going to walk through the selection process and some dates really quickly. And if I fail to mention something in one of these steps, if one of the other shepherds or one of the ministers could jump in and just kind of amplify if I miss something. So there's going to be a sermon series. Matt's going to have 3 sermons on the 21st, 28th of September, and then the 5th of October. Now you may ask, well, we just kind of had a lot of these sermon series, a few years ago. We have a lot of new members in this church. We have a lot of young members that may not just be familiar with what the Bible teaches about shepherds. And so we thought it was important not only to reinforce those basic principles, which Jason gave us a great preview of this morning, but to also maybe answer some questions. At the end of this block, I'm going to ask if you have any burning questions about shepherds and deacons. We're not going to answer those this morning. Matt's going to write them down, and so when he teaches and brings us the messages, he will make sure that your questions are answered. So stay tuned, we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. So there'll be 3 weeks with dedicated sermons. Parallel with that time, about the same time, you, the church membership, are going to be able to nominate candidates, preferably after speaking to them. It's not a requirement, but we encourage you to do so. Have a conversation with that gentleman and ask, hey, I think you would be an awesome shepherd. What do you think about that? Or if you are just convinced that someone has got those skills and talents and you just want to go to the shepherds directly, that's fine too. But we really do encourage you to maybe have a conversation with that person first. And so you'll have that time, again, roughly 3 weeks. That's 3 Sundays worth of time to think about and to make nominations to the shepherds. And again, roughly about the same time, the shepherds are going to be having conversations. Obviously, we'll be talking to members who want to make nominations. We may be talking to some of the candidates during this time as well. And so it's just really kind of a parallel process where there's a lot going on these 3 weeks. And for us, it's about 3.5 weeks, right? So nominations will go to the 5th, and then by the 8th to the 12th, we're going to go ahead and finalize that list of candidates. On the 12th of October, we'll announce those candidates list, the final candidate list. And then this will be a second opportunity for the church, you all, to provide feedback. Either if you have concerns, if you want to say, hey, this is great, I think Mr. X will do a great job as a shepherd. I'd sure like to put in a good word for him. And that's that time period there. So again, that's 2 Sundays worth, a lot of opportunity for feedback. It can be in person. I guess the other thing is we encourage is if you think someone who has been put forward is not ready, we encourage you to have that conversation with that man directly. That's not a requirement. It's something we encourage you to do. I think it's biblical. But sit down and say, hey, listen, I'm not sure I can support you, but here's why. And here's where I think you have got some room to grow. That is a perfectly inbounds conversation, and we really would encourage that one-on-one direct feedback. Again, if you're not comfortable with that, you can always come to us and give that feedback directly. But that's that time period where we're having the conversations, we're making sure we listen to the voices in the congregation, listening to God, and then before making a final decision for candidates. And then that short time period, we'll be finalizing the list internally. We'll be having a lot of conversations, probably a special meeting or two. And then on the 26th of October, that is our fall fellowship. And that's when we will announce and appoint new shepherds to the congregation. Okay? Any questions about the process and the timing? And to my teammates, anything I missed or maybe should foot stomp or reinforce? Tony?
Do you have a number in mind of how many you
No.
are going to?
No.
So if you had 12 candidates for deacons recommended, then you
For-
would have 12?
We have no quota, no minimum, no number we've even talked about. I don't think I've ever heard a number mentioned, so.
I just wanted to reinforce that we're sharing the timeline today. This will be something you will see more and more as it gets closer. So there will be plenty of communication ahead in the meantime so that these dates don't sync up on you. And you'll have plenty of time to reach out. We will communicate.
Absolutely. I encourage the hunters in here, make sure this is on your calendar. This is right during bow hunting, and I don't remember when rifle season opens, but I think it's around the 26th. So make sure we prioritize this. Yeah, be careful if you go bow hunting for 3 weeks. You may come back a shepherd. No, we won't do that. We won't do that. Okay. Any other questions about the process and the timeline? Okay? And again, a lot more coming. This is just the first kind of announcement, and this is how we envision the process playing out. Yeah, Jim?
Just that how important it is that this is a bottom-up process.
Mhm.
You know, we always, we've talked about men that might be good candidates, but it's not like we have a list, a secret list. And if those people are asked, then great. If not, we're gonna push them anyways. We, like you guys, pray for leadership to rise up and pray for God to appoint people. But, we're more facilitators and guides in this process than, we're not making decisions, the church is, the Holy Spirit is.
We'll see. Thanks. So the next slide is really a mirror image for deacons. The only thing that's different are the dates. It's the same stepwise process of nominations, talking to men who might be interested in, discussing candidates, etc. Now keep in mind that some of today's current deacons might be selected as a shepherd. And so we purposely did the order this way for primarily that reason. And so if a deacon is selected or appointed as a shepherd, there may be a gap where another man might need to step into. Okay, so but it's the exact same thought-wise process, getting membership input and feedback. Okay? And hopefully to have new deacons appointed, Lord willing, before Christmas. How you can help. First, be in prayer and fasting. As always, this process is super critical. It's really determining in our opinion, the future of the church, leadership of the church. We need to be in prayer to God about this deliberately starting now. Who are going to be those next leaders, that next generation of leaders? And fasting. In Acts 14, it talks about when they appointed elders, there was prayer and fasting when they did that. So just keep that in mind, and we'll have some dedicated times for that as this process goes along. Be in the Word. Jason really emphasized this morning that there's a lot of scriptural and biblical reasons why we appoint men the way we do, and the characteristics of those men. And so just know those. Yes, Matt's going to bring some sermons, which are going to help for both shepherds and deacons, but really it's incumbent upon us as members to know and to really understand what God's purpose is for leadership in the church. Be an encourager. We would ask, please encourage the current shepherds and the ministers as we work through this process. But also, if you have somebody in mind, and this goes for the man and the wife as well, and they're just on the fence and they're not sure, and then they may have feelings that, well, I'm not that guy. Encourage them. Be an encourager and really tell them what you see in them that would make you put their name forward. Be willing to serve. If your shoulder is tapped, be open to where God may be leading you. Be open to where the Spirit might be prompting you to say, you know what, it's time. Or you're probably you probably are going to be better at this than you think you are. Because frankly, I don't know there's a single one of us that felt completely adequate when nominated. And that's not really the point. You're not going to find a perfect shepherd, deacon, member, but encourage those and kind of prompt them if you feel that. But also, if you're tapped, don't immediately shut that down. Give that some time. And there is, in my opinion, even if you volunteer and say, yes, I'm willing to have my name put forward to the congregation, that is not the final answer. You can still, as you go through some more time and a time of prayer, you're not locked in if you say, yes, I'll let my name stand. You can still reconsider, have conversations with us before making that final decision. And then finally, no matter what the outcome is, when the dust settles, If someone you nominated you thought that they should be serving and they don't end up serving, whether by their own choice or the conversations with the shepherd team, just please understand, be unified, and be humbled. Be humble. We're all on the same team. Sometimes things are being talked about and plans are being made that we know about, or that maybe God is leading us and the church to that we really aren't privileged to discuss. So regardless of that outcome, just be humble and have that spirit of unity. So with that, this is open forum questions. What questions do you have about shepherds and deacons that you would like addressed in upcoming sermon series? Matt's going to write these down and make sure he weaves these into his messages. Short sermon? Yeah. Aaron.
Do we, like in the past, do we write letters to you, the shepherds, and say, this is the person that I feel like would be a great shepherd for this church?
You're welcome. So if you didn't hear the question was, should we write a letter when you're nominating somebody? You're welcome to. It's not required. If you want to have a verbal conversation, I think that's fine. If you want to write a letter or an email, that's fine as well. I don't think we have a preference on how that happens.
No anonymous, yeah, you can't just put a name in a hat without, it has to come.
That's probably a good point. Yeah, we would prefer you to if you're going to nominate somebody, tell us who you are. Any other questions that maybe you want addressed in the sermon series? Any controversies, any hard topics that you think, boy, I'm just not sure about this?
There have been some people I have asked who have declined, and what do you guys do about those people who, do you visit with them as well, or
When you say,
like when they don't want their name put forward? Is there a second step we can take?
yeah, involving handcuffs and no, so that's a good question. I got to think that if someone is nominated and they decline, we will probably have a conversation with them and just say, where are you at? Yeah, and it may not be to totally convince. It's mostly to just kind of listen. Hey, where are you at with this?
I say that because they may have a view that it's too hard, or, and I put forward that it's not as hard as it used to be, because there's more of you, and, that sort of thing. So maybe a conversation like that might be helpful for the person who is like a Moses.
Who am I to speak? Yeah,
Yeah, feels
yeah,
nasal.
that's good. Yeah.
In looking at all the qualifications for elders and deacons, no one has a perfect family.
Mm-hmm.
I know many couples who have raised their kids, raised them right as far as the church is concerned. But unfortunately, God has given us free will to make our own decisions and go our own paths. And I just wonder if some nominated couples in the past have felt that because of choices perhaps their children have taken, and that disqualifies them from serving.
I think that's an excellent one to hit. Yeah.
So basically, you would like us to address the way we apply the family characteristics sketched in Titus and Timothy.
I don't know, I think sometimes we think that I'm not worthy because look at the choices my kids have made. I have failed as a parent, I have failed as a Christian parent, therefore I'm not worthy of serving in these positions.
That's great input. Yeah, thanks.
I wanted to always also ask about whether they need to be married.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on your question?
Well,
Okay. Good question. Carol?
And then on the flip side, we have a diverse family members that have been married and divorced because of biblical reasons. And they are remarried, and so they have multiple wives, even though it's biblical. I think that needs to be addressed also
Okay. Good input. Did I see another
for
hand?
elders and deacons. I mean,
Okay, thanks, Carol. Did I see another hand? Any other? And again, this is not your last chance. If you think of something later, through the week or these next several weeks, or even after the first sermon, make sure you hit Matt up and he can weave that in.
I'll also say, on the front of the bulletin, there's a link to an open survey where if you leave here today, you realize, hey, I meant to say this, or I didn't think about this at the time, you can go online on that survey and leave your question there and incorporate that just the same as these questions here.
Good reminder. Thanks, Matt. Any others? Yes, ma'am.
This kind of ties back in with the family requirements, but it seems like traditionally most churches look at it as the kids have to be old enough to have chosen to become a Christian willfully and committed to Christ for him to be qualified. Is there an age limit, technically speaking? Because I do know of churches where there are shepherds who have children who aren't even old enough to like make that decision yet. So kind of addressing that question of like, is there an age limit? Does he have to have gray hair? Like,
Or hair in general, yeah. I like the bushy eyebrow verse myself. But any other questions that we want to hold in there? Yeah, Betty.
I just wanted to say, I may not have heard it, but a person that's thinking about finding an elder, we need to look at Titus 1 and Timothy 3, third chapter, in order to, before they go to the person, they need to read that.
Absolutely. If you didn't hear that, make sure you're reading Titus 1 and 1 Timothy 3. That's a lot of scriptural basis for how we show the characteristics of elders. Okay. Any last inputs that you'd like to see addressed? Yes, a young man in the blue shirt.
Hi. What are the roles of women in the shepherds and deacons as far as like wives and how they serve?
Okay. Awesome. Kind of the shepherd or deacon couple type approach.
I told Corey the sermon's gonna cover that really well.
Is it?
It did first service.
It did, yeah.
We'll do a good job twice.
Yeah, the speaker today was outstanding. Okay, so again, not your last chance if something else comes, but please continue to keep this process, and especially us that are facilitating that, leading that in your prayers. Okay, so two more quick updates. One on the land sale. You may not have heard, but on the 3rd of June, the Great Falls City Commission did approve the Meadowview subdivision. So, and it was unanimous, and there was tons of local support. I think CJ, DeBob, I think maybe you were there. 2 or 3 members were there to speak in support of, but there was no opposition. Everybody saw this as a great opportunity for this kind of entry-level homes to be built here in Great Falls. So it's 163 entry-level homes. If you want to see more details than you've ever seen in your life, go to the website because there are drawings, plans, sketches, soil samples, zoning things, all sorts of details if you're curious. It's pretty neat. This is a really good company. They've done some really good things, and they've been really awesome to work with. So where we're at, the name of the company is Upslope Group. They're the ones that are buying the land. You remember, we did a contingent sale. Our sale of the land was contingent on them getting subdivision approval, which they now have. They did not expect to get that approval till this fall. This has moved so fast that it kind of caught them off guard, and they expected to meet the city commission this fall as well. And so they're still finalizing the loan paperwork, and we hope to close on the sale of that land in August. It was going to be July, got moved a month, and they've been giving us earnest money, non-refundable earnest money. They've spent well over 6 figures on this process. This is not a fly-by-night organization, and so we're really, really confident this is going to go through. So huge answers to prayers. This is a big deal, and all this money is going to go into our building fund account. Any questions about the land sale? Okay. And then last but not least, update on the building project. And so remember that based on our priorities and the feedback we got from the church and what we think our budget can accommodate, we're going to focus on expanding and renovating the foyer and entrance of the building, and then look at how to increase seating in the auditorium. That may or may not be expanding the auditorium, it may be reconfiguration. So that's that, and then while we're at it, the finishes, the appearance, making it a little bit more modern. That's kind of the scope of the project that we talked to you guys about several months ago. So about a month ago, we entered a contract with LPW, that's LaRue Page Warner. They are the largest architect in town here in Great Falls. You look at any major building project that has been in the city in the last few decades, they have been the lead on it. Benefis Hospital, Station Crossing, several churches. They're doing the New Life Church renovation. And so they're very, very, very well thought of out at the base. We like to use them because they are probably the best in town. And so we are going to spend roughly $12,500 for phase 1 of the project. Now, that is not a full design. That is what we call around a 15% design. So what they have already done is they've taken our old blueprints that weigh about 50 pounds. They've already scanned them in the computer, digitized them. And then Jeff Sable escorted them around, a couple weeks ago, I guess, with a machine that essentially took measurements of all the walls, ceilings, rooms, upstairs, downstairs, and they did a 3D model of the building. We really don't have good drawings of the whole campus here, of both this and the addition. So now we do. Again, it's not, I would say it's fairly crude, but it's a model you need to be able to look at different options. But we've got that now. And so they're going to be starting in the next few weeks, probably mid to late August, we're going to have a focus group meeting or two, and where we're going to give them kind of our vision of, this is kind of like what we'd like to see in a foyer or an entry, or this is maybe the population that we'd like to be able to grow to. And so it's not, that focus meeting is not designed to come up with solutions. That's their job. They're going to be in listening mode to see what we want, okay? So there's going to be a couple of those groups. We are going to be getting input from the church. We've already got a lot of input. If you were involved in that kind of visioning session, when was that? January, February? We already have a good start on that. And then out of that, they're going to come up with a couple of very rough options of what the entry and the foyer could look like, of maybe what we could do in the auditorium here. And then they're going to stop, and then we're going to evaluate. Because they're going to give us some rough cost estimates, they're going to give us a couple of rough options, and then we're going to see, whoa, there's no way we could do this. This is way out of our price range. Or, yeah, this is more modest. This looks good. We can bring that to the body. We can make sure we get feedback. And then after that, once we decide which direction we're going in a budget, then the design will start in phase 2. So everything we're doing right now is only phase 1. Okay? Questions on that?
What is the current legal capacity of this building?
Who knows that?
What's that?
The legal capacity of this building by fire marshal code? Does it say it? Hey, look at there, it says 250. But that's not a realistic capacity. That is not a realistic capacity. That is shoulder to shoulder. You guys know that when we get, especially when we have one service, 215, 220 is probably about all we can handle.
Well, so we did some numbers on that in terms of the realistic side of things. When we were doing one service, we would top out in the 175 to 180 range. And that was a challenge because if you add up both services, we were having well beyond that capacity. So people actually were staying away on the one service Sundays. But then if you start looking, especially in second service, when we have really full Sundays when you just come in this room as a Montanan and you feel like, wow, this is really packed. That's right around 135. It's right around 135. And so, from a functional standpoint, this room is full when we hit before that. Because we want to fill up to approximately 80 to 85% of that, so there's still room for incoming guests if they have a place. So functionally, even though the number of the door says 250,
Yeah.
we're quite close to maxing out what we can do in one service in this facility as it is.
Yeah, very well said. Thanks for correcting me. And you may not have noticed, but we took out 6 chairs right here. So people like Stacy and Eric Harmon have got some more room, as well as traffic. I mean, this bottleneck is just bad back here, and that's what we're going to try to fix is traffic flow and safety and security and everything else, and make sure we got handicap access in mind. Any other questions? So there'll be a bulletin article next week. More details are coming, but we do want to keep communicating with you guys and let you know how it's coming along. And if you are interested in being part of that focus group, it's got to be pretty small. We can't have a focus group of 50 people. And we're going to take a cross-section, men, women, young, old, handicapped. We want a cross-section to make sure that as people are thinking about those ideas, we have a good representation of the whole church. Okay? If you have any questions about that or any more comments, see me afterwards. But any closing shepherds, ministers, did I miss anything that you want to foot stomp one more time? Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys.